Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the inaugural Elite Football League Draft. I am one of your hosts, Andy Hamilton, and tonight we got 18 rounds of Elite Football League Draft for you. An incredible night worth of action as the Elite Football League kicks off our inaugural season. I got two great guys with me, the same guys I had last night on the podcast. I got Advantage. Advantage, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, man. This is an exciting time for sure.
And I have Duckburg as well. Duck, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Cannot wait. Hanging out with my two favorite people 2 days in a row.
Awesome. Here we go. We're going to start live at 7, but we figured we would give you guys a little bit of pre-talk about the draft and how it's going. Advantage and Duckburg, I know you guys have been in a lot of leagues up to this point. Talk to me a little bit about what the difference has been going into the draft tonight and what you've seen between this league and some of the other leagues that have happened in the past.
I think for myself, at least, usually you have a pretty good idea of who's going first overall, first round even. And usually the second round on is the one that we don't necessarily know. But in this draft, I honestly don't know any pick at all. I begin a lot of people asking me, and I'm like, I have no idea. So I think it's a little more unpredictable for sure.
Duckburg, what about you, man? What has stood out to you throughout this league so far? He seems to be cutting in and out. We might have to get Duckburg back in here, but that's fine, Advantage. You and me can carry this ship on our two shoulders. So we got an incredible night of draft coverage for you guys. We are starting off here with live video and audio coverage. And then once we go to...
the main thing is just present, to quote Edgar, what isn't a suit.
Duckburg's real lagging right now.
Yeah, I can hear him. The one thing that will be the difference in tonight's coverage is that we're going to be here from 7 and we're going to go until round 6 live here on YouTube with video with the three of us. And then after round 6, we're going to start the top of round 7 after about a 5 to 10 minute intermission here on YouTube again. And that right there means that we are on the clock. New York has begun right at 7, as we talked about. So New York is on the clock for 2 minutes. We're going to be here until we get to round 7. Then round 7 will start back on EFL.network, the official website of the league. And the coverage here will be between Duckburg and Advantage for a podcast style. So Advantage, we're awaiting the first pick. Who do you think it is?
I honestly think it's going to be myself, but I actually honestly have no idea either. So that'd be Marcus Johnson, of course. I do think it's definitely going to be a running back. But yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, it's like we talked about the other day, there's like 4 different running backs who are all like potential number 1 pick guys. So it should make for an interesting selection.
So you think it's definitely running back?
Yeah, I do. And I think that's kind of the consensus at this point, too.
That's a fair assumption as New York gets here under a minute left to pick. Round 1, pick 1. As you can see on the ticker, those are going to be the selections as we go down the board. New York will be the first pick. Then we will head to Los Angeles as Shaka makes his first pick. Miami will be on the 3rd. Seattle will get number 4. 5 goes to Tennessee with Memphis. I saw the M and got a little excited. And 6 will go to San Antonio, and then we will snake back the other way as we break under 30 seconds. New York taking their time. They have to wait all the way till 12, so it's important to get this pick right for the herd, and it is in, and it's going to be Marcus Johnson, the halfback for USC, first overall, and here we have some footage of him. Advantage, you called it. Halfback it was.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seemed to me, it just seemed like the pick I kind of had as a consensus based on the predictions. So yeah, it'll be Marcus Johnson, definitely first overall pick. He's real talented, obviously quite fast, strong, breaks tackles pretty well. The question for me is he big enough to truly carry a team on his back. And I think, there are some bigger running backs in this draft. So we will definitely see a couple of them go. And yeah, we'll see for sure.
Duckburg sounds like he's back. Duck, what do you think about the first pick, Marcus Johnson to New York? Well, I thought he was here. It doesn't appear he is. I don't know what's going on with him. Well, we see these plays here. A lot of touchdowns on the board. A pretty good running back at USC will make his way to New York to play for the Herd. And now LA is going to make their selection. The pick is in. It's Vontae Peterson Jr., the free safety out of Miami, Florida. What do we think about that? We'll start with Duckburg because it sounds like he unmuted his mic this time.
Yes, I did. Am I coming in loud and clear, boys?
You're good. What do you think of the pick?
I think this was one of those picks that everybody was pretty confident in. Everyone was pretty sure Shaka wanted to go hard on the defense, and this seemed like his best opportunity.
And a good pick it was, as he gets good left undone. Advantage, how do you like the defensive second pick?
I don't mind it. I think, in a draft where we both have an offensive and defensive player already, it really comes down to who do you want to, lean some of your early picks to. And a lot of people do truly believe in defense first. And I believe Shaka is one of those guys. And obviously Peterson's a great pick. He's the member himself is a big part of this league.
And now Miami is on the clock. The Neptune trying to make their first selection. They're down to a minute. But as we look at the highlights, guys, what do you think about Peterson? Do you think he's going to be a bust? The chat is all yelling bust. But good left undone has had a lot of good players in leagues.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a bust whatsoever. For me, he's too big a part of the league.
Miami has sent in their pick. Freeman Montgomery, the halfback for Stanford. We'll get to his film in a minute. Moholt goes at number 3. I know that was wrecking a lot of mock drafts. Duckburg, what did you think coming into the draft? Did you think Montgomery would go to 3, or I saw a lot of people mocking him at 1?
I had confidence in Winnipeg going in at number 1 until our talk last night. And the way you were talking, it seemed like you guys didn't have issues, but neither of you could push past it fully to pick it. So I had confidence that he wasn't going number 1, but I didn't think he was getting past number 3 there.
Yeah, and as we see the highlights, a lot of jukes here for Montgomery. A little shifty out of the backfield on this catch here. Advantage, what do you think about Moholt's character, and do you think he will outplay your character as we move forward?
I mean, look, I said it before. He deserves to be right up there, if not ahead of me. And I think maybe if it was a different team, he probably would be ahead of me. With that being said, it'll be exciting to see how he does.
Seattle is in. They're going to go linebacker Lars Erickson from Boise State. Guys, what do you think about that pick? Not the quarterback that Seattle might need. They don't have a quarterback on their roster. I mean, they have no one on their roster yet, but we don't predict them taking a quarterback, so they got to find that spot at some times. And Evander Wayne Jr. still on the board. We'll start with you, Advantage. What do you think about Erickson?
I like him a lot. I thought he was going to be a bit of a sleeper pick if he got past the first round. Someone who maybe could follow him further in the second. Obviously, that's not the case, but Pandar is a really great member. And I'm excited to see going forward him as part of Seattle.
And Memphis has went ahead and sent their pick in as well. Quick on the draw. Memphis takes Cameron Drake, the halfback from Baylor, with the 5th pick in the first round. Duckburg, talk to me about Drake. What did you think? Do you think he's one of the elite backs up here with Moholt and Advantage as halfback?
Totally. As I pretend to be Nick.
Go for it. Talk to me about Drake.
Yes, Drake was definitely one of those top 3 halfbacks. Just looking at these highlights here, it's easy to show why he's in it with that group. He's a menace in between the holes, and he's gonna pick up yards left and right in this league.
And then go ahead, Advantage, and give us your take as you started, and then Duckburg jumped back in.
He's actually a member I'm not as familiar with as some people, but there's been so much hype around him. I knew he'd be going high, and he's had such a great start. I believe he has donated and everything, so congrats to him. But he definitely has a lot of quick jukes, and I think speed's a big focus for him too going forward.
And now San Antonio will be on the clock. Evans will get 2 picks in a row. The first one is in. It's Dion Grimes, the cornerback from Florida State University, primetime himself. Advantage, did you see this one coming? And if not, who do you think they'll take with their second pick back-to-back here?
Yeah, this is a bit later, actually, than I think I had him. But yeah, primetime Grimes, great pick. Moholt's the first guy to get both players off the board, which is obviously a big deal. But yeah, DB from FSU. I think with the next pick, I don't think they're going defense just because they have so much on D. I could see, I believe they already have, well, I think they already have their eyes set on a different quarterback, but I could either see them going at receiver or linebacker here if they do decide to go defense for sure. So I'd say the favorite would be Jalen Adams if we're looking at receiver.
You think the receiver? Duckburg, what do you think about that? You think Adams would be a good pick here?
Adams, I think, is the easy pick here, but we don't know if he. I don't think that's where they're going.
Salas has always made good players. I always love the graphics that he puts together. I think he's one of the graphical great guys. And I mean, if we're being honest, I put those guys higher on my boards just for their ability to get those graphics looking nice. I always think that adds to the league. If you want to check out anyone's graphics, EFL.network. Those are the place that we'll check, and that's where you'll sign up if you want to create a player. All players signing up today will go to college, and they will play there and then come to the EFL. San Antonio has their second pick. Advantage, you're correct. It's Jalen Adams, the receiver from UCLA. Talk to me a little bit about Salas and what he adds to the team.
He's consistent, and that's the big thing with Souls' players. First of all, he's very consistent. Any league, he's probably one of those guys who will stick with you for as long as you want him. He's been always one of the guys I've talked up in other podcasts I've done, just because of how good of a member he is. So you're not only getting a quality player who's definitely going to bring you some speed and some definite deep range ability, but you're also getting a guy who's a quality person for the locker room.
Yeah, and he, as with most players in this draft, they have a second player on the field. So Duckburg, talk to me a little bit about how that'll affect the draft, and do you think Salas's second player will go here at some point soon?
I think he might drop a little just based on the position, but I think an important thing to think about for the two positions is how GMs want to go about that. Do they want to take a big chance on a guy and go, or do they want to play it safe and, oh, if this, do I only take one and not?
Yeah, that is a very fair points as we look at more Jalen Adams highlights. San Antonio will have to wait all the way to the end of the third round to get their pick in. And there you go. Salas's second player, Marcus Bryant, the safety, will go to Memphis, coming from Notre Dame. Duckburg, talk to me a little bit. You mentioned you might see him fall. Why do you think that is?
Well, consider me wrong. I figured there'd be a bit of a run on a position before safety with the talent around it, but consider me wrong. You should get me off. I'm not an expert, apparently. But yeah, I mean, it's a great pick. Marcus Bryant's going to be a great player. I mean, coming out of Notre Dame, you know that they always have, good players coming out of college, and he's, Souls is a great guy. He's going to be great on the field and great in the locker room.
Advantage, we're down to pick 9. Seattle is officially on the clock. Not seen a quarterback yet. Do you think it's time, or do you think they wait?
I think they take. I think they're taking Wayne Jr. here, personally. I'd be surprised if they don't go quarterback at the very least. Maybe it's not him. Maybe you could look at a guy like Trey Masters. But I have to think you don't want to wait too long. I mean, I could see Turner go as well here. I just know they have a bit of a history together. But I really think you can't put off your quarterback search when there is going to be free switches and stuff like that. So,
yeah, the pick is in, and it's Ricky Julian Bubbles, the linebacker from Colorado State. So Seattle goes linebacker with their first 2 picks. Duckburg, talk to me. I mean, Seattle is going linebacker heavy. Do you think that's a good move or a bad one this early in this deep draft?
And be running on this one. I know the crazy, but he is seeing the one mock draft that had both these players for Seattle. I'm saying that they're secretly a because seeing this coming.
Yeah, a bunch of yeah, I
was gonna
agree.
say, is it
Duckburg.
cutting out for you too? Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. I don't think I saw two linebackers on the board. Miami has got on the clock as we see the highlights. Julian Bubbles,
I
not
did
a.
say Turner could go here, so that is Turner's
You think?
player. So
Well, there you go. Not a
yeah.
bad player, one that we don't have a lot of film on, but obviously a great member on the boards. Always see him around, so not necessarily something we don't expect. Miami is getting down under a minute here. Positional wise advantage. What do you think they're going? And it's in, so I won't even. Well, they do. They went Max Thunder, the linebacker from Alabama. No lack of film when you play at Alabama, and let's take a look at some of it. Duckburg, what? Well, no, Duckburg's family is streaming.
I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
I might be in and out occasionally if they start buffering more and Moana gets a little intense and takes up more bandwidth than it's supposed to. I think Max Thunder's going to be a bust just because it's Advantage's player. But I guess Miami had to take him, or else he's a linebacker. No. I think they're gonna be fine. Max Thunder's a safe pick. Advantage is always gonna be around. He's in the board of directors. I don't see anything wrong with this pick.
I'm very surprised. Because he was the one GM who never talked to me once.
Wow.
So, and I did make a post in the Discord saying if anyone does not talk to me, I would retire on them. So,
well, we'll see you later, Max Thunder.
This will be interesting. No, I'm not going to do that. But still, I'm the type of person who usually likes a little contact before. But yeah, I mean, he's going to get obviously a quality.
Well, LA's pick is in. It's not a quarterback. It's another linebacker as we see a run here in the second. Quentin Harrison, the linebacker from USC, is off the board. Advantage, talk to me a little bit about Harrison. Do you think linebacker is an important enough spot to pass on Evander Wayne Jr. for right here at 11?
Yeah, definitely. Here's the thing is neither team has picked of the two teams we pegged, which I believe was LA and Seattle. Neither team's picked a quarterback, and LA gets to pick next before Seattle. So I think they saw an opportunity there to not necessarily have to go quarterback. And I do think they got swiped a bit because I am pretty sure Shaka had his eye on Thunder. But Harrison's going to be a real dynamic linebacker for him too. So, USC linebacker really dominating the backfield. So it'll be interesting to see, when they'll take the quarterback. But I think you're looking next round's going to have at least one of them going for sure.
New York on the clock. Duckburg, what do you think they're going here in the Big Apple? Well, Advantage, what do you think they're going here in the Big Apple? Your halfback is a member of the herd. What would you like to see here for your first out of two organizations?
I'm thinking either Marcus Holloway or maybe Ivan Zamora, which was Everyday's guy.
There you go. Marcus Holloway, outside linebacker from Baylor. You called it, the big man on the outside, as we see another linebacker go here in the second round. New York back-to-back selections, so they'll have the top pick in the third, pick number 13.
You're definitely going corner receiver here.
You think cornerback or
I'm
receiver?
leaning corner. I think there's some quality corners there. I think Everyday's guy is really going to be good. People are sleeping on him.
Well, they're down to 90 seconds to make the pick as GMs are real close here. Only 120 seconds to make each selection. Holloway, though, good player. Symmetric's second player. Mm-hmm. But I know when I talked to him, he said he was favoring the outside linebacker over the halfback, and I took that into account when I was creating my big board. So hopefully Symmetric will be excited about playing outside linebacker for New York. And it pairs well as we go offense on the first one. And New York makes their third selection, Evander Wayne Jr. The first quarterback is off the board. The quarterback coming from Miami, Florida, Leonidas' player, is off here. Advantage, talk to me a little bit about the pick and what do you think it means for New York?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, he's definitely, if he's not top in TP, I think he's at least top 2 for quarterbacks. But this is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, there's a player that's already been linked to the team that is a quarterback, correct?
Yes, these players in the 5th and 6th round are ones that teams have designated as targets, and they will draft only those 12 target players in those 2 rounds. So New York did have a quarterback on the target sheet. So you're right. It is very interesting that they took Wayne Jr. here.
I'm assuming you'll probably end up switching spots, but I don't want to assume too much. But yeah, Leonidas is a great member. I mean, like I said, I thought he could go first round, right? So to get him in the 3rd is, even if it is the first pick of 3rd, I think that's a nice little grab.
And LA's pick is in Sheriff Nash, the linebacker from LSU. So Advantage, do you think that LA was affected by the fact that Evander Wayne Jr. was off the board right there?
Yeah, I do. This is a weird pick. Maybe I just don't know who Time Consumer is. But I didn't think they'd go inside linebacker here. Obviously Nash is a strong guy. He's got some good mobility as well. But I'm curious to see going forward how he's building his player, and if maybe Shaka had a specific build in mind for the linebacker spot that he likes in Nash.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Duckburg, are you here to weigh in?
Does not seem so.
Does not sound like it. Moana has taken over his life. So Miami on the clock, 60 seconds, and actually the pick is in. Ivan Zamora, you talked about him a minute ago, the cornerback from Notre Dame off the board, and I think it was well timed. That's
a great pick.
It's the first cornerback, correct?
No, Grimes went earlier.
Oh, right. Prime time.
Yeah, so this is a great pick, though. You go get Thunder. You get one of the best linebackers in the draft, as biased as I am. And then you go and get an elite cornerback in Zamora, who I personally peg as the second best corner in this draft. So to me, you're setting yourself up real strong defensively here.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of teams go in defense. I mean, Seattle, for example, at this point in the draft, I mean, hey, they're on the clock, and they got 2 linebackers only. So what do you think the pick could be here?
Well, I think I don't know if they'll wait on a quarterback, since they will get to pick again before LA. So I'm kind of thinking they honestly do not know.
Well, I mean, I think it's almost time. I think it's got to be time to go offense. You need a receiver. You need a quarterback. The pick is in. It's going to be Johnny Blaze, a cornerback from Miami. So Seattle adds another piece to the defense, adding a cornerback to go along with 2 linebackers. Advantage, the saying goes, defense wins championships. Do you think that'll be the case in the EFL?
For their sake, I hope so. I'm a little surprised by this. And not that I don't think Blaze can be a solid player. I just didn't think he was going to go quite this high. But, it's a good showing of faith. And I find Boss actually often does, he does respond pretty strong to good showings of faith. So, it's could end up being a really solid pick for them.
I think he'll be a good corner. I think Zamora has a better skill set, but at this point in the draft, I don't think it's a bad idea to take Blaze. Seattle, though, has a very defensive roster so far, so I don't know if that would have been the pick that I would have made, but not necessarily a bad pick in any right. Memphis is on the board. They went free safety in the 2nd round, running back in the 1st, so 1 on each side of the ball. Now I guess we get to see what Kendrick values more, offense or defense advantage. Which do you think they go?
They're going linebacker. I'm thinking Bobby Mack. Oh, wow. Hey. Here
we go. Demetrius Jones, the receiver from Western Michigan University, another small school guy, not a lot of tape on him, but a great player nonetheless. Jones will add on to the offense that features Cameron Drake. A good or bad pick for Memphis? What do you think?
It's a good pick. Pandar's, I mentioned earlier how good of a member Pandar is. And, here he is, his other player. I actually forgot he was on the board still. But yeah, he's definitely a quality member. And I think this could be a really good pick for Memphis. You're getting a great receiver I think he'll challenge Solis for the best receiver in this draft. So yeah, I think this is an excellent pick.
And now San Antonio back on the clock for 2. The last time they picked was all the way up at the second pick of the 7th pick, excuse me, the first pick of the second round.
And worth it.
Yeah, and Duckburg has surprised us.
I wasn't even sure if you could hear me. Hi.
Yeah. What position? Oh, well,
De'Aaron Hester.
There you go, De'Aaron Hester, the halfback / kick return man from Miami University. Duckburg, what do you think about that pick?
I think he's a very valuable pick because he's a guy who can do 2 things at halfback and at kick return. So you got a special teams guy for you too.
And now they are back on the clock for their second pick. Advantage, what do you think they're going to go here?
That's tough. They already have their running back. They have their receiver. I think they go D.
They have a cornerback on the defensive side, Grimes. It would be nice to pair him with someone, don't you think?
Yeah, definitely could be a possibility.
And here, as we see it tick across, Bobby Mack, the linebacker you mentioned earlier from Alabama, will be going to San Antonio to play for the Wolfpack. Advantage, why would you mention him earlier, and why do you think he fell those couple spots down here to San Antonio at 19?
I think a lot of people see the value in Uzi's players, not just as he's active, obviously, but he's also the type of guy who's going to be a really active member of your locker room. And I know Evans does value that a lot, just from interacting with him in other leagues. And Uzi is like the guy when it comes to locker room content and activities. So I think it's a really good pick. The thing with Uzi is, he has to stay committed to a league, and it can be kind of easy for him to not be committed real quick. So hopefully he's happy where he goes, and hopefully he enjoys the league enough that he'll be a real good piece for them.
Now Memphis on the clock, 66 seconds and counting for them to make their selection at the 20th pick of the 4th round, and they go ahead and take Kobe Cleaner, the tight end from Stanford, good left undone's second player. Duckburg, if you're there, talk to me about Cleaner.
Well, we finally have the first tight end off the board, and a few people were thinking it might be tight end before wide receiver, but quite a few have gone beforehand, which is a little bit surprising, actually.
Yeah, Cleaner going here to Memphis. That adds to an offense which features Demetrius Jones, which they snagged in the last round, and a defense that has Marcus Bryant. And the offense also has Cameron Drake. So a decent draft shaping up for Memphis. Advantage, what do you think of that offense so far?
It's looking solid. I mean, yeah, you get the 3-headed monster pretty much up front from this draft already with Drake, Jones. That's going to be a well-rounded offense, and I think that bodes well for Memphis going forward.
Seattle is on the clock. They are ticking down. Still no quarterback for the Predators. Do you think now is the time, Advantage?
Yeah, definitely. They're definitely going quarterback here, I got to think. I'm thinking Trey Masters. He is one of the top TP guys, if not the top one at this point. Unless he knows somebody else, I don't really see him going away from that pick there.
Yeah, we are the 21st pick in the 4th round. We will go to round 6 here in this coverage, and then we'll pass it off to the podcast. It is the man himself from USC, the quarterback, Trey Masters. And Advantage, you have called another pick tonight. Masters, the other player for MW Hazard. Do you know much about Hazard, or is this kind of an unknown entity in the league?
I know I've heard of Hazard before. I haven't really necessarily had many conversations with him, but I mean, at the same time, you look at his current TP count, and it's up in 99. He's donated, I believe. So, I mean, he's got a lot of reasons for you to trust him that he wants to be a part of this league and be a big part of it. So, I think he earned that spot, to me at least.
We are down to the 22nd pick. Miami is on the clock. Duckburg, where do you think they're going with this one?
You can definitely see, at least for Trey Masters, that they were going to jump there because, with New York taking a QB, their second QB, technically, before they even took their first, you knew they were going to jump. So you don't really know where Neptune are going to go with this. They have the QB. I could see them maybe trying to grab another, like a threat for their QB.
And they'll do
There it
just that. Corey Stringer, the third, the wide receiver from Miami. Advantage, they add a pick here to go with the potential quarterback coming in the later round. What do you think about Stringer?
Stringer's all right. I mean, I have my own concerns with Stringer, just from being in leagues with him before. But with that being said, he's grown up a lot over the years, and he is an active guy. And I think you do get a guy here who is a big possession receiver. He has speed. He has good hands. And I think that's going to be a tough threat for other teams to stop, especially if you have a great quarterback.
And they will have to wait for round 5 to potentially make that selection. LA is on the clock. Do you think they strike quarterback here, Duckburg?
I think, honestly, at this point, they might be able to wait. The Corey Stringer pick actually surprised me. I honestly don't think he was even the best wide receiver on the board. I don't know why they went there. I mean, like I said, I knew they were going to go with a threat for the quarterback, but there were a few people I probably would have put above Stringer in this.
Really? So who do you think is the best receiver on the board still?
I mean,
Mike
there's
Stropko.
Brady Stropko's around there. I don't think, did Bobby Collins get picked up yet?
No.
Time Consumer's other player. I mean, I could see, like, he's been really active. I mean, there's just a couple guys above him that I might have looked at over Corey Stringer. Not that Corey Stringer's gonna be bad, but and Advantage said, he's a bit of a threatening pick. Like, it could fall bad on them, fall flat.
Yeah, not necessarily a wrong description. Jalil Judge, the safety from Wisconsin, will be LA's pick here at 23. LA decides to pass on the quarterback and go defense. Advantage, what do you think about that one?
I think it's fine. They are early in a tough situation here. They're going to have this, they're going to, I think, be able to get a pretty solid quarterback regardless at this point. And, you're going to guy who's been incredibly active so far. I don't know if he's under an alias, but Wally's been a great member thus far. He has currently got every bit of his TPE banked. So it's hard to judge him in terms of how he's going to build, but he is making a solid zone cover. And I think Shock is going to enjoy the challenge of helping him create a solid build.
New York is back on the clock. They'll pick back-to-back. Advantage, you are a member of the herd. What would you like to see the GM here make this pick? What position?
That's tough. I think New York could really use a wide receiver option, or another linebacker. I think.
Well, and there they go, linebacker Evander Prince from Alabama. Duckburg, talk to me about Prince. Do you think it was too early for him? I don't think we had mentioned him in the draft cast until now.
No, I don't think it's too early, only because of the run on linebackers that happened. If there wasn't a run on linebackers that there was, and there was still a lot of talent on the board, you probably could have waited, but I could see the need to grab a linebacker before they were all gone, with you waiting for a long time before your next pick.
And now we get into those protected picks like we talked about. 5th round is what opens it up. New York will make the first selection of those protected players. A reminder to everyone on YouTube with us, after this cast stops, after the 6th round, we'll have a 4 to 5 to 10 minute break, and then we will hop over to the forums to watch the rest. But stick with us here on YouTube, as Duckburg and Advantage will have a little bit of a podcast while they refresh the page and just talk about the picks that are coming through.
And it seems like I fixed my technical issues, so we'll be all good.
There you go. So stick with us here, as well as make sure you're still checking the forums over at EFL.network. New York down to 50 seconds here. We kind of already know which of these 2 to 4 players this could be, but still exciting to see some of their film and how that relates to the team. New York has gone ahead and make the pick. It's Chase Alexander, the quarterback from Ohio State, so he will play along with Evander Wayne Jr. Duckburg, how do you see this playing out between the two of them, and what do you think the starting time will be?
I don't see Evander Wayne staying a QB. I can see him moving around to a position that New York may need later on, especially with getting at least one switch. So I don't think the playing time's going to get switched. I see either Wayne or possibly Alexander switching positions.
So, yeah, obviously, I think one of them will either switch or play at a different spot. Advantage, which way do you see it? Do you think Wayne will move, or do you think Chase Alexander will play a different spot?
I definitely think Alexander's going to be the one switching spots. And it's kind of an interesting thing because at the moment, New York's really loaded up offensively. But, at the same time, they don't have a receiver taken. They also don't have a cornerback taken.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what that leads you to believe is probably that the team will or believe that they could get some sleepers, or that one of these two players is going to play one of those positions quite possibly.
I think they're just waiting on a very specific defensive back.
LA has taken Kai Seau, the safety from USC. He will pair well with a lot of defensive choices in LA, including Vontae Peterson Jr., Quentin Harrison, Sheriff Nash. LA actually has gone defense on all of their selections with Jalil Judge as well. So LA still no offensive players. What do you think about that advantage?
That's a risky game. Maybe one of them switches, but at this point, that's a tough thing for me. He must. I'm assuming at this point, the GM of LA there, Shaka, he must really believe in some of the guys who are definitely falling. And to his credit, there's been some good receivers and running backs who have both fallen. So, and there's of course quarterback still as well. So I think there's some good options still left on the board. So I think at this point he's just taking best player available.
Yeah, Miami is on the clock. They have protected a quarterback and a free safety, so they're going to add one to each side of the ball with Wheaties. Let's run over what Miami has. They have Corey Stringer, the third from the last round, Ivan Zamora, the cornerback. In the second round, they picked up Max Thunder, and in the first round, they had Freeman Montgomery, the halfback from Stanford. So far going a little bit more defensive, as we've seen a lot of teams doing here in the first couple rounds. And we'll see what Miami will do in the fifth here. The pick comes along, and it's Brian Wheat, the quarterback from Penn State. So they add another piece to the offense, as the defense already looks decently strong over there. Advantage, what do you think about the move here to take Wheat at number 27?
Well, they needed a quarterback, and at the end of the day, they're getting a pretty reliable one, one who's going to need to be great for them. And when you pick up such a heavy defensive group that's really going to help lead the way, I think you have to go and get a good quarterback at some point here. And it's nice you got Freeman Montgomery at running back. You don't necessarily have to have all the pressure on Wheat. At the same time, you don't need to have all the pressure on Montgomery. So I think it's going to be a good 1-2 punch there.
Yeah, and you got Stringer the third to catch the ball too. Duckburg, talk to me about Miami. Do you like the pick or do you hate it?
It's a good pick. You got Corey Stringer in there, who's going to need a QB to not make him look good, but you need a good QB, and he's not going to be able to make a bad QB look good. So Brian Wheat's going to be a good pick to keep Stringer and put him at his highest potential.
We'll move to the 28th pick overall. Fifth round, Seattle will be on the clock. They have gone Trey Masters as their last pick, the quarterback from USC. Johnny Blaze, the cornerback from Miami. They also have Ricky Julian Bubbles, Lars Erickson in the first round. So two linebackers to complement a cornerback and a quarterback. Advantage, what do you see him going here in the fifth?
And this is a tough pick, but I do think you're going to see a running back over here.
Well, they actually go cornerback. Royce Taylor from Texas comes across, and he will combine with the other cornerback, Johnny Blaze. So those two, do you think it's too early to say the best cornerback pairing in the league?
Yes. I mean,
way too early.
It's just too early. We don't know about position switches. We don't know. And to be honest with you, I did think Blaze went a little early. So, not to say it's definitely a contender, but I think it's still too early until we see how, the whole draft shapes out.
Yeah, still plenty of rounds to go, as we will go until every player eligible is selected. A reminder, if you're just signing up on EFL.network, you will be put into college, and then you can see yourself be drafted over the next 2 to 4 seasons. So still plenty of time to get involved. And actually, When we ran the other leagues that we've been a part of that had college, everyone liked college even sometimes better than the EFL. So 62 seconds for Memphis. They are looking to add to a tight end, a receiver, a free safety, and a running back. So all offense so far for Memphis. About time we see a defensive player advantage.
Well, they did get Marcus Bryant, I believe, did they? Free safety, but I think they're going quarterback here.
And they do so. Blake Cameron, the quarterback from Cal, will be the selection for Memphis at the 29th overall pick. Duckburg, talk to me a little bit about Cameron. Do you think this is a good spot for him, or do you think Memphis needs to get on the train of going defensive early?
I mean, I think they're doing basically the opposite of what the Reign are doing, and that's going to be an interesting matchup when they go up against each other, where the Reign are going heavy defense and all defense, but the Bandits are going almost all offense, and seeing those two head up against each other is probably going to be really fun.
I agree with that sentiment. I think we have a lot of teams going defense first, and then very few, a few teams like Memphis and possibly even New York here going offense first, and those are the kind of shootouts we're going to see is two defensive teams and two offensive teams fighting each other. So now San Antonio will be on the clock for two of them. Bobby Mack, De'Aaron Hester are the players in rounds 3 and 4. Then they took Deion Grimes in the first round and Jalen Adams. So a little bit of a spread here between the offense and the defense. Advantage, what do you think San Antonio, is going to do here in the end of the 5th?
I really, I have to. It's just maybe for me guessing, but I think they're going quarterback and linebacker here. I have no idea which one's going to go first, but I think those have to be the two positions, right? I'll put my time in this league on the line, honestly.
Oh wow! Don't do that. That could be
lose your simmer. I'll look at quarterback.
There you go. Adonis Delvin, the quarterback
league is safe
from Texas, will complete the 5th round. 1 round to go, and then we head back to the forums as well as to podcast mode. Duckburg and Advantage will be here live on YouTube going over the picks as they happen in the forum. Our graphic team worked very hard on the graphics that are being displayed in the original post. Duckburg, talk to me a little bit about what you're seeing out of San Antonio 6 rounds into the draft.
I really like it. It's a bit more balanced than the other teams. I mean, they have Bobby Mack and everything. I really like the way they're focusing a bit on defense, but they're not giving up on the offense in the meantime. This is really similar to how I would build a team.
Yeah, it's very interesting. We have 6 franchises so far in the EFL, but I know if the members warrant it, Shaka and I are not opposed to expansion at some point. Don't think it'll be next season, but I'm not ruling anything out. If we have enough players coming into the draft, we will see more teams on the board. So, if you want to own an EFL franchise at some point, the best ways to do that are apply to be a college athletic director. And then after that, win games, man. Start recruiting well, get a lot of players into the league, and then win games. Advantage, you mentioned that you're simming here. Do you think offense or defense will be the stronger and more important side in the early seasons of this league?
I do think defense, quarterback can be a bit of a hit or miss position offensively. So for that reason, I got lean defense.
Tiago Orton, the pick for San Antonio, as they will go ahead and wait to the end of the 7th round to get their next pick in. So Tiago Orton, and now San Antonio has to play the waiting game. Memphis on the clock in the final round of our coverage. Kendrick has been putting together a pretty strong team. Duckburg, talk to me a little bit about Kendrick and the team that he's put together in Memphis so far.
I mean, it's really, really good. If you switch up, like, these picks are back-to-back, so if you flip up the QB and linebacker pick here, he's literally gone defense, offense, defense, offense, defense, offense, and I love it. He's keeping the team nice and balanced with a bit, I mean, like I said, the higher picks have been on the defensive side, but I really like where they're going with that. Really balanced team.
Yeah, Memphis has a pretty good owner. Kendrick knows what he's doing, has been in quite a few of these leagues, a great GM to play for, and so I'm sure that he knows exactly what he's doing. Advantage, what do you think about Memphis and how they've put together their team so far here through 6?
I think there's definitely been a bit of a theme going on with people Kendrick's very familiar with, people from VHL and people from SBA, people he obviously gets along with. Kendrick can sometimes be a bit of a polarizing personality, and I think he's just been leaning to the people he knows he gets along with well.
The pick is in Keenan Lewis, the cornerback from San Jose State, another small school guy we don't have a lot of film on, but a guy who will play well for Memphis none the less. Advantage, what do you think about them going cornerback here in round 6?
I think it's a good pick. They need one. They do have a free safety, but as we said before, they're kind of going a little offensive heavy. So this gives you a couple nice solid DBs to build your team around. They obviously still need to get some linebackers, but for now at least, I think they're making some solid picks for the secondary.
And we watch here, that tackle actually was brought down at the 1. If it weren't for Lewis there, that would have been a touchdown. And then right there, breaking up the play in the backfield. So Keenan Lewis may have gone to a small school, but he clearly is making enough plays. Seattle on the clock. They went cornerback last round. Duckburg, what position do you think they're going to go? And it's probably pretty obvious, so I'm going to toss you a softball here. What position for Seattle in round 6?
I think, because I don't remember what position did Seattle take last round? Because the
last round they took a
sorry, they're not updating the post for me. Okay, so they went cornerback last round.
I think they're going running back.
Yeah, I think they're going running back then.
And they do so. Apollo Ali, the halfback from Notre Dame. Well, you're playing into the chat who said that you weren't paying attention. So
rude.
That's fine. It just plays into what everyone's thinking of you. 33 picks in. I want to get your guys' opinion. We'll start with you, Advantage. Who do you think the best team so far is 6 rounds through?
Oh, that's a hard pick. I really like what New York's doing, and I really like what Miami's doing. So I think they both got the best offensive and defensive players in the draft with Marcus Johnson and Max Thunder. So now, honestly, every team except for LA has been going somewhat balanced. So LA is the only team I'm a little worried about right now. And obviously they have a pick coming up. So maybe that will help change that for me. But I think for the most part, it's tough to differentiate.
There we go.
So Miami is on the clock, 66 seconds and a ticking for the Neptune here in round 6. You mentioned that you like what Miami is doing. Duckburg, which teams are standing out to you to this point?
The number one team, as I had basically mentioned earlier, is I do like the way the Bandits are going with all their picks, keeping everything going everywhere. And I really like the way the Reign are really focusing on heavily on the defense.
Miami's pick is in Harrison Clark, a safety from Penn State, which combines well with Brian Wheat, who was a quarterback from Penn State. So 2 Nittany Lions heading to Miami to play in Florida. Very interesting, you guys. What do you think? Advantage, we'll start with you. What do you think the biggest surprise so far in the draft has been?
For me, and I can actually connect this a bit to Miami here, was Stringer going that high. Nothing against Stringer, the member. I just honestly had a couple guys ahead of him at receiver that I'm surprised are still there. Very surprised Bushido's still there. Not to say I don't get it with personality concerns, but he's always been one of the best football guys out there. So that's a bit of a surprise for me for sure.
Duckburg, you have not been selected yet. What besides that is the biggest surprise for you?
That's honestly not a surprise. I'm surprised, honestly, that Commando Warsmoke's still available, and that's not to say that Kobe Cleaner wasn't supposed to go ahead of him. I'm just surprised that there's not that many tight ends that have gone.
Yeah, tight end, a rare position, one that I think when I evaluated the draft was fairly top-heavy. Coming out of the 7th, or coming out into the 7th. New York will have the first pick. But LA on the clock here. They've gone defensive on all of their selections to this point. Advantage, do you think it's time we see the halfback?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you called it again. Alton Taylor, the halfback from Miami, Florida, and LA has finally an offensive member for the team that will play in the Sun. Duckburg, what do you think about Taylor and how LA is attacking this draft on the defensive side of the ball?
I think they're really going to have to rely heavily on Taylor, especially early in the season, early in the league. He's going to be getting fed the ball left and right to start this team off.
And New York will be the last pick of our coverage at 36. A reminder that we will still have a live draft podcast for rounds 7 through 18. Duckburg and Advantage will be going over what they see happening in the forums. You can check out the forums at EFL.network. I know Mohol and the graphics team put in a lot of work in making that form look awesome. So even if you have been watching our coverage, go back and scroll through some of those great graphics. Are you guys excited for the next, 11 rounds of the draft?
Definitely. I think this is where the teams differentiate themselves, is who gets those late steals. That's usually where you see the champion or the dynasty team of the next couple of years kind of break out, like we saw with Brooklyn in the SPA, and we've seen in other leagues as well.
Well, the New York selection is in. It's Trey Lawson, the safety from LSU, is the 36th pick, round 6. We're going to let Advantage step out to go ahead and set up our next round of coverage. We'll take a 10-minute break. So at 8 o'clock Eastern time, if not sooner, these guys will go on the air and go ahead and start the 7th round of play. Mohol is in the chat. I believe he will be waiting for the go-ahead from us here. Guys, what do you think about the draft so far through 6 rounds? It's been fun, hasn't it?
It's been a blast. Outside of my Moana technical issues, it's been a blast.
Advantage, what do you think?
This has been some of the better coverage, I think, that I've seen in a league, and certainly the best presenters, I would say, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But in all seriousness, there is the live chat confirming as well. There's a lot of people are pretty happy with the effort that has gone into making this run as smoothly and as effectively as possible.
And we're not. Go ahead, Doug.
Before you make your way out here, Bengals, everybody in the live chat, in the forums, on Discord, I just given a round of applause because this was all Bengals. Like this presentation, spot on, A+, S+. Just give Bengals all the credit here. He did all this presentation work.
Hey, there's one guy who's directing presentation for now, and that is me as well. So this is just the beginning of great EFL coverage. I will go ahead and mute myself and step out, and then Advantage can give me the green light once he is set up. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then it will be back for rounds 7 through 18 of the EFL draft, EFL.network. Thank you guys for joining me, and have a great night between the two of you.
Have a great one, Bengals. It was a blast, as always.
Awesome.